Welcome to the Dice Box and Tombstone Blues. Previously, they did manage to at least lead to the taking down of the preacher man, doctor man, all around bit of hideousness. They didn't really have the time to investigate this individual's lab or his paperwork or any of the rest of it because in the fight against the guard critter, Muffin's spectacular charge also knocked over a lantern and set the church on fire. Also, spectacular charge smashed the guard critter out a wall and did some fairly significant structural damage to the church, which eventually, after they did at least manage to cleanse the ghost rock that was multiplying down in the basement of the church, but of course now you don't have the paperwork that talks about why, how, if any of it got shipped anywhere else or anything like that, because the church kind of fell on top of it. Oopsie! At the end of all that, you wound up with a redeemed and cleansed but dead Arizonian? Arizonite, I don't know.
Arizonian, actually.
Okay, but how the fuck am I supposed to know? A grieving word of God, and apprentice to the grieving word of God, apparently.
Who was appropriately welcomed to the Weird Sisters.
Yes. She doesn't entirely look like she knows how to feel about that, particularly in the situation that in which they are in. As much as Jillian is having her brood moments, Cassie has a terrible lot of why me and not him, or why him and not me, depending on how she's looking at it at any given time. So it's probably a lot of quiet from those two. Quiet and staring off into the middle distance as they ride back towards the town at the edge of the wastes with a capital W, which takes about a week. Little longer, but not much. As it took 2 weeks to get to their little town, but that's because you were going in a somewhat roundabout searching kind of way rather than going straight on. So yeah, over the course of the week, does anyone want to address brooding people?
I'm going to see if I can approach Cass.
Okay. Just kind of... I'm assuming this is when you've stopped for an evening?
Yep.
They just kind of get...
I would like to be more of a words person, but unfortunately I'm not, so I'm going to have to be kind of direct. Even I can see the brooding. You okay?
Well, since you can already see the brooding, saying yes would be a really stupid lie, wouldn't it?
That would depend on how convincing you were, but yes.
But you already see I'm brooding, so how could I be convincing after that?
You'd be surprised how some people can be convincing.
Or how unobservant you can be?
That too.
Okay. So, but I'm still going to be honest, because why not? No, not really.
Well, as you've pointed out to the rest of us a bunch of times, talking about it can work through it to a certain point. Feel up to talking about it?
I'm not really sure how it's going to help.
I don't entirely get how it works either, because best I got is just that laying out the math lets you see more of the math, as it were.
I can see the math. It's just that this equation had a lot of different answers, and I know all of them were bad, and none of them would have worked out the way that maybe they should have. But I just feel like there's more that I could be doing to. She goes out, and up until she meets you guys, she's all on her own. And she can't have this one thing. Instead, she gets me.
I mean, given you get to see it a little more, well, you get to see it from a very unique perspective and a far broader one. What's to say that this isn't the best outcome? What's to say that any other one where like you say it had been you instead of him.
You're thinking about the greater good, and that's something. But what about. I'm not talking about the word of God here. I'm talking about Jillian Kane loving wife.
That
Nobody's thinking about what's good for her but me.
and the fact that you are, I don't have the words for it, but the fact that you are means something.
It does. But it doesn't give her husband back. And if I thought I could get away with it, I'd ask God to trade.
Oh,
But I know I can't get away with it because her conscience and sense of morality and sense of duty, and Miss Reba would give me that look. And you'd probably have Muffin follow me.
yeah, I would.
So I can't get away with it. Unless God really wanted me to be able to do it, and then I guess nothing could stop me.
Yeah, exactly.
I just want her to have one thing. One thing that's not this. I'm just more this. I'm just more responsibility.
Well, to that, I really don't have an answer because I'm also more of this.
You're less more of this than anything else.
Any attempt at.
You were a more worldly kind of weird.
That's actually a really cool way to think about it. Thanks. For a fact that any attempts I made to try and give her anything of that nature back from, the way the universe worked would have bent the math in unconscionable ways.
She needs you because sometimes she needs to not take everything so seriously.
And she needs you because I'm pretty sure you know the reason.
No. I know why God wants me here. I'm I'm a responsibility that connects worldly and not, but mostly I'm a guide. You guys ride around pretty much aimlessly unless you find a clue and don't set it on fire.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
a
I wasn't
recurring.
just yeah, I wasn't just talking about you. There's something about a book, and I think you're still seething about it a little bit.
Yeah, that particular one is one I really don't want to try to remember anymore. Because every time I think about it, I just get angry. Because, I mean, yeah, it was a little warped, but it was still in the situation where it could be unwarped. There's. I know there's evil stuff out there, but there's gotta be a way to mallet the bad shit out, fix the impurities in the metal.
She didn't just do it because it was evil. She did it because it hurt you. That's you don't see what that means, do you?
I, I, I,
Look
I might
past the
have.
frustration and think about what that means.
I mean, yeah, I get part of it. It's just
She
it's fighting with
cares.
it's fighting with the frustration is what I'm trying to say.
She doesn't care easily, and she doesn't show it very well.
Yeah, and that was one of the ways she shows it, which honestly I'm still frustrated about, but I'm real grateful for.
And
It,
somebody like that deserves somebody giving her what she actually wants for a change. 'Cause she doesn't get that.
yeah, I'm hoping that the universe lets up for at least a little on that count.
I don't think there's that much more the universe can take.
Mm.
Thus, yeah, I'm gonna feel bad. I'm going to continue to feel bad. And I'm going to wish that she had her husband instead of me. Don't think there's anything I can do about that.
It's
She's done a lot for my family and for me and for everybody else, and she hardly ever gets any kind of worldly support that she can't turn away.
yeah, it's a fair. No, that's an entirely fair reaction and understanding, and just any which wording I could possibly come up with is going to take me a while. So that's fair. That's entirely accurate, and you're not in the wrong for feeling the way you do about it.
I didn't think I was. I'm
I'm
just
still going to reassure you anyway.
still feel like I should do something about it.
I mean, you could bring it up with her
I know what
when things
she'd
have.
say, and so do you. But that
I
doesn't
mean,
mean that's
yeah.
what she'd actually want. She'd feel morally obliged to do the things that she felt morally obliged to do from when she left him and took me to safety. That doesn't mean it's what she wants. she's probably not even really letting herself actually want that, because that's a selfish thing and one of those things that you're told not to be when you're God's instrument.
Oh.
But that doesn't mean she doesn't want it. Somewhere deep down where she won't admit it. And that's not an unfair thing for her to want.
Yep, and her being obliged to package it up and just kind of carry it around, it's just going to sit there and, well, fester.
Yes.
And the best idea I've got is to somehow, I don't know, get her to admit to it on some level. Because if it gets out, at least then she can look at it the same way you're looking at it.
Well, it's not going to be to me. Because every time she looks at me, she's looking at the decision she made and why she made it. So it's not going to be to me.
Yeah, and I think I can predict the reaction I'm gonna get out of her.
I don't know. You're persistent.
Yeah, it's those first few reactions that are the scary ones. So if you think I ought to be persistent,
Look,
that's exactly what I'm going to do.
I didn't. It's up to you what you do. I just know that if getting her to admit it somehow makes it not fester, just because I see things doesn't mean I know everything.
True.
All I'm saying is that if you think that it's best to get her to open up the way you're trying to get me to open up when I don't need it anywhere nearly as badly as she does, because I at least know what's going on in here and admit to what's going on in here. But if you want her to do that, you're going to have to be persistent. And I'm going to have to not be anywhere near it, because I am the visual representation of the guilt, the grief, and the resentment she probably won't admit to. But if I hadn't been there, she'd have died, or worse. Because she reacts first.
Oh,
That much
so
I
very
do
much.
know.
Yep. And when fighting, that's a great trait to have, but planning doesn't suit well to that, does it?
Well, that's the thing.
Working through one's issues doesn't suit well to that either.
And sometimes, more often than you'd think, you can do more with... She's the word. She's not the bullet. She uses the two kind of interchangeably when there's a lot more to it than that.
For just that last sentence in particular, thank you and hug.
So yeah, I'm gonna have face. It's a thing. It's gonna happen. Try not to worry too much. I do know why there's face. There's not really a whole lot I can do about it, because I'm not gonna stop feeling bad about it, because she has done so much, and she thinks she is the only one who can, and she's entirely wrong, because she would not have got nearly this far without any of you.
Yeah,
Still
her
be
guns would have
her.
still been broken that first day out.
They weren't broken, they just weren't as good as she wanted. But again, she's the word, not the bullet.
Exactly.
And in any case, she's not just that. And I think she would be. And I think if she's not careful, after this, that's what she'll try to become.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I can stop her from doing that.
And yeah, I'm gonna. So, yeah, I think I know what I'm gonna have to do.
I'm gonna be over at the other side of camp. Thank you. And sort of scoops up Spot. Passes Reba, scoops up Spot. You.
Sir,
It just leans. You probably want to not be in the general vicinity.
sort of, and I'm sitting there deliberating, trying to decide: do I initiate plan immediately or wait a day or so in the trip before taking our lovely word aside?
At the same time, there's already been a side taken just because it's been scoop.
Yeah, and just because I'm sort of staring into the air, and I'm wondering, is there any sort of like check to make to figure out if I've registered this has even happened?
She got up, walked away from you, and picked up Spot. That's not something that requires a perception check at all. It's just, I'm going to be over there now. She literally said to your face, and it just sort of scoops up Spot on her way, and just, bye.
Yeah. I'm more like trying to figure if I picked up on the social cue of that.
Yeah.
Very directly? Got it. Perfect.
As for Reba, she was okay. Assuming that we're arranged in such a way that Jillian's on one side of the camp, Reba's kind of in the middle, and
Those two
Aloy
are over there.
were on the other side. Reba probably heard most of that and was like,
No, Cassie would have made sure that.
"Okay, that's fair." In which case, then I'm looking at after she got up and Reba's looking at Aloy and looking over toward Jillian and trying to put two and two together. I'm not sure what I'd need to roll for that, but
insight check.
It would be insight? Okay. $26.
Yeah, Cassie has the right idea.
Get clear of blast radius.
Yeah, in which case, I'm like, I know that look. I know that look on Ella's face, and
there's been brooding, and
there's been brooding, and given the events, because Reba is wise, she would understand Cassie's, having heard what happened with Isaac, and also Jillian at the burial, and just all of that all kind of rolled together. She's like, oh yeah, there's guilt. There's a whole lot of guilt
and probably resentment.
Yep. Oh yeah. So yeah, and it seems like Aloy's choosing to take this on. You know what? I'm wise enough. Game on. I'm gonna let Aloy take. She wants to do it. Okay.
Yeah, that's the point at which if she's heading in Cassie's general direction. Why don't you show me some edible plant stuff?
Delighted. She basically spends some time, like, rather than trying to do it with like a book, she's literally just going, whoop, Druidcraft, and here's this one. Just a little sprig, a little just, here's this one.
Yeah, she was like, well, I was kind of hoping that we could collect some for dinners because I know what grows around here, and we might have different words for them and that kind of thing.
Oh, we can do that as well. Yes.
But I suppose if you wanted to Druidcraft up something that would aid with dinner, it's I can explain some herbs and things that Papa always likes, and off at minimum safe distance.
While this is going on, I will have moved over first Muffin.
Boop.
And gone, Muffin? I'm about to do something which could be categorized as monumentally stupid.
Boop.
I'm going to try and get Jillian to admit what she actually wants instead of moral obligation stuff.
Boop.
Which means there's going to be a blast radius.
it does sort of guard stance. Boop.
Not one that I really need protection from in that sense.
Boop.
Oh boy.
You have
I
backup
was,
whether you want it or not now.
yeah, I was gonna try and try and get Muffin to go keep an eye on the other half of the party. Too late now. Well, if you're coming with me, you're coming with me. So down the crater side we go.
Chunk, 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 chunk. It sort of goes box. In a space that's, you know, perfectly natural for Muffin to go box in if Aloy wanted a word with Jillian, but also conveniently placed to block her best line of exit. Boop boop.
There goes nothing. And stomping over to Jillian.
Yeah, and that's when Muffin sort of follows. Boop boop.
Jillian looks up from sharpening her knife.
Lovely.
Oh, that's alarming.
Then Muffin kind of butts the knife hand. Just boop, boop, boop.
What is it, Aloy?
Put that away first, because this is a delicate conversation, and I am not delicate.
Jillian eyes her very dubiously as she sheaths the knife.
Boop boop.
Thank you. So... started it the same way, I guess. I have a hard enough time noticing the peopling thing, and you're brooding so loud I could probably feel it back where we came from.
Boop boop. And it opens up a flap to where you've got a map of the U.S. and tilts head in the direction of Boston. And you could probably hear her brooding from Boston. Boop. And then
Yeah, actually. In fact, forget where we came from. I could probably feel you brooding from Boston.
You don't think I'm owed a few days' worth of quiet?
Oh, you're definitely owed a few days worth of quiet, but you're also owed not being an emotional pressure cooker.
I'm not being overly emotional.
Yeah, so what you're doing is being a pressure cooker. You're just putting stuff in and sealing the bottle and just continuing to apply heat. All that's going to do is stress the metal, and eventually it's going to detonate. Which is to say, your brain space is going to do that because you're going to stress yourself out. Moral obligations aren't the be-all, end-all.
I'm not going to do anything foolish, boy. I know what my obligations are.
You're the word, you're not the bullet.
I'm aware of that.
Funny way of showing it.
Nothing else to do but keep watch until we're out of the wastes, Aloy.
True. And that's not what I'm on about. God, you know I don't words well. You're gonna have to meet me halfway here instead of just sealing up the canister harder. Adding more weld points does not solve the problem.
I don't have anything else to say, Aloy.
Well, for one,
Okay, Aloy being blunt. I'm gonna help out a little bit here as suggestions because Aloy being blunt. How about you miss your husband? You wish he weren't dead? And Cassie's a little bit worried about resentment. Is she right to do so?
hilariously, that's about where I was headed. Well, for one, given several occurrences, you miss Isaac.
Jillian glowers.
You wish you
him.
had him rather than everything that had gone down.
Obviously, I would rather he was here with me.
And just that wouldn't happen to be causing any, I don't know, extreme resentment towards the person who did live.
It has nothing to do with Cassie.
Oh boy, does it have a lot to do with Cassie. I can tell it has a lot to do with Cassie. I am going to keep bringing this up until you admit to what's actually bottled up in there. You are not more durable than the containment canisters I can build. And even those break. Keeping
I'm
that
not
kind of a
going to
wall
break,
around
Aloy.
your heart and soul is just going to cause it. You don't know that. You don't know that. You could withstand it for the next eternity. Or something might prod you in the brain pan the next day and you go snap, crackle, pop.
Boop boop. And Muffin opens up the flap again, and out comes. It's an old pocket watch. It didn't. You haven't been able to fix it. You haven't had the space. It did not violently blow up. It just stopped working and couldn't be wound up again.
And I'm going to scoop that up. Thank you, Muffin.
Boop.
Not every snap, crackle, pop is, well, kerboom on the level of me blowing up half a town. And I'm going to open up the section for I'm just going to start opening up the watch.
Mhm.
Could just be a break like this. I still can't fix that.
I'm not something
And
you can just fix, Aloy.
yeah, that's kind of my point. Because all I have are these comparisons. If
you
it's
don't,
something you break,
if you can't see the problem, if she doesn't say the problem, you can't do what's necessary to fix the problem or at least prevent the problem from getting any worse. From a mechanic's perspective.
if we're gonna, okay, you know what? I'm gonna stick to this perspective, to me, because I can see what the problem is here. I can't fix it, but at least I know what it is. If you keep hiding whatever it is, that's eating away at you. No one can stop it getting worse. No one can help you start to heal. And it probably just sits there and festers and snaps and crackles more. And just keeps getting worse until you stop. Physically or otherwise.
Okay, I rolled the hand of fate here, and this time it's not Jillian who's getting a nudge from certain higher powers. What Aloy gets is it's kind of her voice, but not quite. You are not the only. She is not the only one who can. Tell her.
Sorry, just so I'm just
This is
dramatically.
this is the word of God, suggesting to Aloy that she tell Jillian that Jillian is not the only one who can. She cannot stand alone.
And there's sort of an expression of what the shit just happened.
Jillian,
Ting ting ting.
You can have an insight check for that one.
Glasses off.
It's like
Glasses on.
it looks at first glance like her epiphany sort of I have an idea ish, but it's too shocked for that, so it must be a different kind of oh shit, I'm about to get yelled at by the Lord through Aloy.
Jillian.
And the sense Jillian's getting is you won't listen to me. Fuck it.
I'm just going to be extremely literal and parrot-esque. You can't stand by yourself. You're not alone.
The you are not the only one who can is extremely important to say word for word, by the way.
Yeah. Or rather, okay, let's go through the full quote. You are not the only one who can.
Jillian.
That's what nat 20 on Hand of Fate gets you.
Mental bolt from Blue.
I am grateful that you and Reba and Cassie are here. Don't ever doubt that.
I'm not the one doubting it.
Yeah, there's a certain sense of
I'm starting to think you're the one doubting it.
I am glad that you three are here to help carry what parts of these burdens that you can, but some things I don't know how you could carry them. And it's not that you're I don't know, not that you're weak or anything. It's not a slight against you.
You just haven't done the thinking on it. You haven't done the math. How?
Isn't something... It's not a mathematical formula, Aloy.
Yeah, but what do you think mathematical formulas are to me?
It's how
That's
you
the
look
best
at the world.
It's the best equivalent I have to Lord Almighty. And this announced out loud at full volume.
And Cassie's just mushrooms.
I don't have a solution, Aloy, just like that.
I'm not asking you to.
Aloy is, again, scientist, mathematician. Emotions have weight, same as physical things have weight. Right now, a lot, if not all, of the emotional weight is packed onto Jillian. And you remember what happened when you were stress testing Muffin and you were far too confident in your structural integrity of the legs.
That actuator did not work. That actuator did not work.
And yeah,
Aloy.
crunch. No, but no. This is. I'm giving
Oh,
this. I'm giving this to Smeagol to do with as he will.
I thought she was saying that out loud.
No,
Yeah.
I'm letting Smeagol do it in Aloy I cannot words way. Basically, saying emotions unpack easier. Yeah, she's still carrying some of them, but even if she talks about it, but some of the weight's off, and it's not as structurally unsound. Not just up there, but in here. Heart matters too. Heart is kind of part and parcel of the soul, at least as far as Aloy's ever been able to figure out, but that's never been her area of expertise. She has not figured out the maths for that, but basically unburdening is good, but in science speak.
Not asking you to have a sudden miracle solution. I'm asking you to at least start distributing the load. Okay, so when I first built Muffin,
Boop boop.
I tried to be the sensible person. I did stress tests first. I checked how every actuator lifted. I checked them as a unit because I tried to do the math to make sure when they were all working as one, they lifted more than any which one could do individually. And overestimated.
It sort of drops head into, she retracts neck in best approximation you can give of pancake.
Yeah. When all the load was on one point on Muffin, every single leg gave out, even the ones I wasn't testing.
I understand what you're trying to say, Aloy.
So, yeah, I'm not saying suddenly it's all going to be better, but I am saying that if you don't start handing off all that weight to wherever, and not just more internally, but out, pancake goes your brain. Pancake goes your heart and soul. And that doesn't exactly turn organs into diamonds. That turns organs and metaphysical into smush. You don't need more hardening. You need the opposite.
Muffin kind of leans affectionate little bunk. The only way Muffin really has of saying, also, we like you and we want to help. Bunk. Friendly dog or friendly horse kind of. Boop. Boop.
Just
Jillian-
leaning like sort of a
Jillian
Labrador.
pats his head.
Boop. Boop boop. Boop boop. Happy with the petting. Boop boop.
I'm going to produce polishing cloth and just sort of drop it on Jillian's head.
All right.
If you're going to
Ooh.
pet Muffin, use those.
All right, Aloy. Starts wiping Muffin's head.
Boop. Boop boop. Boop boop.
So,
The indication seems to be if you don't want to tell human beings any of this, if you don't want to vent to beings that can talk back at you, vent to me. Boop boop.
so, yeah, you know what? Muffin can listen to and understand you just fine. Muffin also can't tell anything to anyone else. So you get to tell someone without having to tell someone as loud as I am. So I'm going to do some sketching. You are going to keep polishing Muffin.
Oh my god.
And you know what? If you can manage to, without using the anti-dent hammer, work a dent out through sheer hand pressure,
I don't think that's going to happen, Aloy.
Boop boop.
that still means you should put forth the effort, because if you can do that, that means I won't be applying the hammer to Muffin.
Boop boop. Boop boop. This is very much. Please, please, please. Boop.
Anyway, I have sketches to do. Bye! I'm going to just spin around and
Boop boop.
Oh my god.
and as I take off, I actually do. Beeline towards the to if I can see Reba
Yeah.
or Cassie.
Do you want to sketch mushrooms?
Yes.
I'm not gonna ask.
That's not a sound I expected to hear after that, but okay. Have a seat.
It's the
Pull up a bit of ground.
It's the sound that was needed.
Oh, no arguing that. So yeah, pull up a bit of ground.
Awesome. Situate. Fiddle with a little device so I can have a little bit of light with which to sketch. Hook it onto goggles.
You gotta show Greta that. She'll love it.
Therefore, I will.
And there's Jillian with Muffin, just sort of boop boop.
Jillian stares down at Muffin. Keeps wiping.
Boop. Boop boop. Boop. Almost expected, but enjoying the polishing. Boop boop.
Jillian eventually looks more upwards. I'm angry that Isaac chose to die when I would have forgiven him. And even if someone had to deal with those creatures,
She does get an answer to this one from the Lord. You would have forgiven him. I would have forgiven him. I did. What about him? My forgiveness and your forgiveness mean nothing if he could not forgive himself. That was what he felt he needed to do to forgive himself.
I know, and I understand that. It's not that I don't.
But you're still angry that your forgiveness meant less to him than his did. Don't you shake
Perhaps.
your head at me. Because that is literally what you just said. And that was honest. You may not act upon your more selfish needs and desires, but they are yours. They are a part of you. You are not the bullet, and you are not simply the word. You are permitted to be human. You have done well as the word. As the woman, you have not so much lost that as given it up. Why?
Because that was what was needed.
No,
I had to let Isaac go.
that did not mean being less human. One who speaks to humans for the Lord must speak with the voice of the Lord, must act with the hand of the Lord. But in that, they cannot forget what it is to be human, because otherwise that connection is no longer there. You are a bridge. Do not forget your humanity. Christ asked for the cup to pass from his lips. Didn't entirely mean it. Did and didn't. It is more important to do what is necessary despite wanting something for yourself than it is to pretend you do not want that. A sacrifice is meaningless if you pretend you don't want it when you give it up. If you pretend it has no meaning. And to simply bottle everything drains meaning.
It's not, I don't feel I'm trying to pretend. I know what I'm feeling, and I don't see what else there is to do. It's not. I don't feel I'm holding, and I'm just. I don't know, trying to let the time start to pass, and I'm going to talk to Cassie. I'm not trying to ignore her. Once we're out of the wastes, I know that she needs teaching. I'm going to start that. I just
These
wanted a few days.
child, I am not asking you to pick up your responsibilities. I am asking you to let your friends support you. Apart from free will, that sort of friendship is among the greatest gifts I can offer.
It is. I am grateful that I have them.
But you do not accept them. You are there for them. You do not let them be there for you. Do you think they don't feel an imbalance? All you have done for the young creator. And consider all that she has said, the courage that took.
No, I don't want to give her any more burdens than what she has already.
Asking your friends to help you does not give them new burdens. Would you say that helplessness is the greatest weight upon your soul when you can do nothing? Consider what you took on in the name of needing some way to help. How do you think helplessness, when seeing your pain, do you think it does not weigh on them? You would not be adding to their burdens, you would be lifting them. Their worry, their guilt. The child would ask a trade. If she felt she could get away with it, I believe were the words. She feels that you deserve what you want for once. But
Get away with what?
you are not without intelligence, Jillian Kane. She has not, and she will not, but only because she feels it would be added weight for you and them. But she would do that for you, to ease your burdens, if it is the only way she can. That is how the helplessness weighs upon them. Sometimes the only way to ease the burdens of others is to let them help you with yours. When I take on the burdens of others through prayer, I am not weighted down. I rejoice because I can help without removing your freedom of will, of choice. And you all were made in my image. Remember that.
I will.
And you just still got Muffin. Just boop.
Jillian remembers to keep wiping him.
Oh yeah, I figured she was doing that in the process, and just lean. Boop. In a very much sort of, you like me now, I'm glad kind of way. She's had horses like that. She's had dogs like that.
Jillian pats at Muffin and waits for dinner.
Yeah. After a little while, you got Cassie going. I think we have enough mushrooms. Papa taught me. Do we have a skillet? I think I brought some butter from home, and you grew some of the garlic things. Papa showed me butter sautéed mushrooms with garlic. It's really nice on top of, it makes even your average trail ration sort of thing taste quite nice. Put it in, and Cassie is like, French food, sort of.
On the way back, I did after having sketched, really high detail mushrooms, I sketched a skillet, sort of an anime chibi skillet person, like a little chibi figure with an entire skillet for neck and head.
You should show Miss Jillian that. See if we can maybe get her to smile this week. A little bit, tiny bit.
And I'm going to
Getting her to smile
proceed to do exactly that. Just slam into view, just slam into the side like a weird hype man. And up comes the book with the chibi skillet dude. Behold.
What on earth is that?
Witness. Skillet man.
I don't even. Jillian has.
The cookware that helps around the house.
Are you going to build?
I don't know.
And Cassie winds up laughing so hard she actually nicks herself with the penknife. She's ow! Maybe you should, just to prove you can.
You know what? Yes. So let's change my answer to yes. We make a whole squad of tool people. And I get up and I wander off again.
I was going to tell her my idea for a giraffe soup ladle.
I'm just okay. We find a new use for the dent hammer, I suppose.
At the mention of the hammer, you just get boop. Muffin doesn't like the dent hammer.
No.
Actually, with these mushrooms and the garlic and everything, if we can get an onion and some parboiled potatoes and some of the bacon, I can do a kind of a fried mushroom potato thing.
That would be nice.
Looks over because she'd been talking to Reba, so it was just potatoes. And back to chopping mushrooms because she only got it as much as she said to Aloy, and is now just, I let that particular cat out of the bag, and now I don't think anyone's actually twigged that this is all my fault. So I'm just gonna keep doing dinner right now. Because I don't know what Aloy said, and some of it's probably going to end up, because Aloy is very blunt, and if I didn't come up in the course of any of that, I'd be very surprised. So I'm just going to keep doing this for now. And we are actually at about break time, so if Jillian wants to pursue this,
Jillian's gonna pursue Cassie.
yes,
Soon.
I'm sure, but she can do that after break time.
Mhm.
And we're back in the middle of trying to deal with copious emotional problems, because that's what roleplay is at the end of the day. So yeah, in the midst of this, Cassie is at the very least stalling this conversation until dinner happens, because sometimes you need time to think and food. But she does come out with this wonderful bacon, potato, mushroom, onion, garlic, butter hash thing that is trail food, but it's good trail food, and kind of a vive la French Creole kind of a situation. And after that, it's kind of, settling in for the evening, which is probably around the best time to corner somebody.
Yeah. Jillian goes up to her.
Hi. You okay?
Cassie, I'm not going to say yes,
Good.
but and I know you can't just say yes or no either, but I don't want you to think that everything that's happened, it would have been a matter of you or Isaac.
Except it would have been. Well, to be fair, it would have. To be fair, I don't think it would have worked out either way, but that's not what I'm thinking anyway. It's not. I know how it kind of had to work out, and I couldn't tell you because you didn't want me to. But sometimes, if you ask hard enough, pretty obviously, I just want you to actually be happy. I don't think you've been happy for a very long time.
No, but what we do, sometimes we don't get the best outcomes, and we have to live with what the best of what we could do, but you walking out of that isn't a lesser outcome.
But that doesn't mean it's not. That doesn't mean that if you had a choice, if it could be made, that there could be a choice. I don't mean then. Then is done. Then is over. That happened. It happened the way it happened. I get that. I know that. We're talking about now.
There was another choice here and now. I wouldn't change the outcome, and Isaac wouldn't want me to change it. You have as much a right to be able to walk away, to be able to see your family again.
For a little while.
That's going to count for quite a bit.
None of this talks about you. Why
No.
can it never be about you?
I'm supposed to be taking care of you, and I'm not going to try and ask you to not worry about me, but I will try to be more open if you try not to shoulder yourself with more for my sake.
Somebody
I don't
has
want.
to. And you won't let them. You can't stop me.
That's clear. I've always made it clear I can't stop her either, and Reba was probably waiting another day or two to tell me the same. So I will try to talk to them more and to talk to you more, but
I think I'd just prefer if you tried to be happy. I mean, you don't have the one thing that I know would make you happy, but you have blessings.
I do, and
You're not very good at showing that you have blessings.
no, and not now, especially.
Even before. I'm sorry. I'm gonna say something that's probably gonna hurt. But for... I wouldn't have interfered at all, but for someone who mostly identifies as the word, there's one you didn't use. I know you feel it, but you don't understand how much people need to hear it sometimes. Words matter. Not just the big words.
Jillian grits her teeth.
Yeah, I was pretty sure I was going to make you mad at some point. I only say 'cause I care.
Jillian. Mm, mm, strains something. I don't doubt that, Cassie.
But you doubt a lot of other things. A lot of times it wasn't... I know things. And there were times when the word was not there. Or you couldn't use it. And you were enough. I want there to still be a you.
There's going to be. I know how it looks, but I'm not going to change as drastically as Aloy worries.
No, but you're going to change from how things... From what you're saying now, you're going to change in a direction that makes you less Jillian. He'd want there to be more Jillian.
I know he would. I'm trying.
And we're probably going to be really annoying to help you keep trying.
I'm aware of that.
So you're just going to have to put up with it? Even though you're kind of scary? Not the word, but you. Sometimes you're just scary.
Please, you've nothing to be afraid of me, Cassie.
No, but
Even if you say something that gets me mad, you should still say it.
probably gonna. I'm Papa's daughter after all. But the thing is,
It's very true.
I say it 'cause I care, and Papa says it because he doesn't care what anyone thinks of him. Mostly because people are gonna hate him, he says, for what he looks like anyway, so why bother caring? Me, I just actually care.
You have so much ahead of you, Cassius. As much as I'm trying, I would appreciate if you tried not to take on even more yourself.
Well, I guess the person who's supposed to be teaching me needs to be a good influence in that matter.
Fair enough.
So we'll try. And I'm gonna keep pulling you in a Jillian word direction. I don't know 100% what that actually means, but I have a feeling it's more than just mostly nonverbal and flat looks.
I will try towards more than that, and I promise once, if we weren't in the waste and there wasn't other things to watch for, once we're out of that, we'll be talking more about your, your shooting, your riding, things you need to practice, and we'll figure out the things
Well,
less material than that.
I can tell you this much. I'm not so much a word. I'm not like you. As much as I have to learn from you, I'm also kind of a guide. You guys kind of wander. And you wind up in the right place eventually, but messages of where and why come easier when it's from a human face.
I'm glad to have a guide.
That one you talked to him about. I'm just me. And
Fair enough.
I'm not doing it because... Not really doing it because I was called or... And I know I'm not the only one who can because I've met the Reverend and I've met you. I'm doing it because I can. And I'm needed. But not just because I'm the person who can bear this gift. It's like a tool. Or a gun. Or anything. I have it. But it's not just the it that I'm carrying around in the world. It's what I do with it. And that's, I guess, part of why I'm worried about you. The word's important, but it's how you use it. And if there's less you...
I understand.
I'm doing this because I want everybody to be okay. And that starts here.
I'm going to be okay.
I know. Wanting doesn't always mean getting, but I can try. I can be supportive. I can be silly. I can make sure you're eating.
Appreciate that too. You can ask whatever you like, whenever you like, and I'll be honest with you.
I still wonder if he'd let me, if I couldn't trade, if he didn't have to carry around the memory of what that made him do. But then you have to go to Arizona and clean up anyway, so you'd wonder why, and that would just... I just know how much you want him back.
We do, but I don't want you thinking that it's a matter of your life for his.
I think right now that would probably be the only way I could do it, but I take your point. I do.
And that's all I ask.
You're going to be sad about things. That's understandable. I'm going to feel sad about things too. You're going to feel guilt. I'm going to feel guilt. It's not thinking it. Because you're going to think it. We're going to think it. It's coming to grips with it. And you can't get to grips with it if you're just not thinking it. Or pretending you're not thinking it and really at the back of your head thinking about nothing else. So yeah, I'm gonna think it. For a while.
Alright.
But it doesn't mean I'm gonna do it. He wouldn't let me. You wouldn't let me.
No, I wouldn't. That's the thing sometimes. We think things that we know full well others wouldn't want us to do, and things that aren't fair or sensible or actually could have happened if there was a chance to make a choice again, but still can't help but think it.
This is as long as you're honest about actually thinking it, I think. Because if it's just sitting and churning away in here or down here, or then it just, you don't get any perspective on it. Because it just sits there doing its thing without somebody else or even just you, me anyway, this is how I'm looking at it, being able to look at it from either a Miss Reba wisdom thing or a Miss Aloy logic thing. Because I can sit there and I can go, if I did this, either he'd remember and he'd still be in the same situation that he was in the first place, so that would be bad for him and bad for you. Or maybe I could ask that he forget, but then he'd have to come with you to Arizona to try to clean up the mess that he made and wouldn't remember making. And that would probably cause a short circuit in his brain. And that helps me make the thought, it shuts it down a little bit, because I can turn around and say, I already did this. I know it's not going to work. Then you think it less, and then you just think it's sad that it had to be that way. I'm not there yet.
We'll both get there in time.
I just don't let it sit and pretend I'm not having it.
That's fair.
I know that you're supposed to be teaching me, but
Supposed to be taking care of you too.
Not sure if weird or comforting. Gonna go with both.
Fortunately, Reba and Aloy are here too.
Yeah. You know, I think the next bit of writing, think probably needs to be decompressing because then we have to have the conversation with my parents. And I don't think I'm going to be of any help there.
Some things have to accept, even when it's painful. There's no other way around it.
I do have a question. Even if it's a painful thing, do you want to know a thing?
Yes, of course.
The little boy? His name was Daniel. Would have been.
Jillian looks away.
And if you believe in some of Miss Alloy's maths, somewhere, in some place that's very much like this one, he is named Daniel. Some worlds are real close to this one. I don't know if that helps or hurts, but this is the world we have. But he had a name.
Jillian's not saying anything.
I'm gonna shut up now.
Thank you, Cassie.
Hesitant shoulder pat and then just quick hug. Zoom off to bedroll. Like, that's quite enough. Bye.
Jillian's gonna curl up
Yeah.
there and leave
Um,
it at that.
Yeah. After Reba sees Cassie go to bedroll, she just levers herself up off the ground and walks over to Jillian and just produces a bottle of something, probably rum, knowing her, from nowhere, and just hands it to Jillian and goes, keeping it short, you ain't been okay for a long time, and it's going to be a long time before you are, but we're here. And you're one of us. So
Thank you.
drink up. Take a swig. Trust me, you'll
She
take a
pushes
swig.
the bottle, but
No,
doesn't
take a
touch.
swig.
Oh my god.
Trust me.
Takes his grumbles and takes a swig, and she's so.
Because that's not just rum. There's some stuff. There's some calming things in that too. So, just kind of, yeah. I use that for really, really, really rough nights. And you didn't have all that much, so you're good. You'll be fine. You won't fall asleep. It won't knock you out. Just make it a little less raw. Good night.
Good night, Reba.
I'm assuming slightly medicated, but still not a great night. And unless anybody has anything else for the next few days of trip, you do eventually get out of the wastes with a capital W and to the township. With, a few days quiet writing, breathing space, but at least the boil has been lanced, as it were.
the cloud overhead is a little lighter.
Well, no, that's
little bit.
well, that the boil lancing is the usual metaphor, just on the grounds of it's going to be messy and painful for a long time afterwards, but it's
Gotcha.
all of that is it gets worse before it gets better, but you have to actually cause that rupture first.
Gotcha. Now I understand.
Yeah, the township is trying to rebuild itself as best it can after accelerated decay and many, many missing people. You know, people are desperately trying to do their own patchwork repairs and fix up bits of garden, and there's not a whole lot of activity, but what is there is kind of frenetic. Clearly trying to do it before the stormy bad weather seasons turn up. But mostly you guys are heading for the church, because if Cassie's family is going to be anywhere, it's going to be with the Reverend. And for once, the church is not being used as a refuge for the dispossessed. They've managed to fix a couple of spots. They haven't got all the blood off the floor from where the Reverend had his throat cut, but they got most of it. And the Reverend, who was just sitting in one of the pews, clearly preliminary work on a sermon, so looks up and, well, looks at Cassie first, says, "You've grown." "Hi, Reverend." "And you know them?" "I do indeed. I owe my life to at least one of them."
Morning, Reverend.
"And morning to you. I take it their town is safe again?"
Safe as can be.
Look forward to hearing about that one, but it looks at Cassie, looks back to Jillian, and just, why do I have a feeling that the LaFleurs are not going to be very happy?
No. Cassie is not. She's chosen to be called, I suppose.
Right. We'll get to you in a minute, Miss Cassie. Your parents and your brother and sister are in the kitchen. Well, you go and at least show them you're alive, while these lot practice what they're going to have to tell your parents with someone who might actually understand. Here.
Oh boy.
Followed by happy shrieking from Prudence, and equally happy shrieking from the twins, and you can just imagine the hugging.
How are we going to explain apprenticeship type nonsense?
Well, how about, I can't really, guide anything in that direction until I know exactly what happened. I mean, I know she's been remarkably prescient on a visions scale for quite some time. I had a feeling I knew where that was coming from, but I didn't know that necessarily was going to mean riding out the way you did or I did. So
I sort of wish you had told me what you did when we last met, Reverend.
that
He kind of did. Just way more subtly than any of us were exactly paying attention to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a bit old for that kind of carry on.
I wouldn't have asked you to come with us, but
But that's not, then why would it necessarily have mattered what I did back then?
It's not like we had to really know.
maybe not had to know, but would have been good to know, but
It
some,
feels
not a
like
real concern.
giving myself airs. I ain't a
That's
hero.
very fair.
I ain't a hero. I just did what was needful and tried to pass on the occasional bit of advice.
Funny
I
how
understand that.
similar that happens to be.
But I didn't want you giving it extra weight just because of what I'd done. You take things like this on their own merits. Or you don't. But seriously. What's...
Well, I have my Cliff's Notes version, but
We'll start with yours, and when your words fail you, others can fill in the blanks.
so we got there and the guy whose facility here that we set fire to had set up shop out there, and he was trying to either spread the rock he stole from me or its influence in some way, and was trying to secure his whole operation a bit more and kidnapped Cassie.
Ah.
We
I mean, that, to be fair, that part I knew a bit about. When Cassie and Brent weren't with them, I did ask why.
yeah.
I know Cassie said that she was staying because she felt she was needed. So let's go from there.
Well, she between her and Jillian, we wound up with what I can only describe as a purifying heart sort of object. And Cass, and then the only way we could, I guess, use it on the jerk face what stole the rock was the result of Cassie having to be bait.
I am not looking forward to you telling that to her parents.
The attempt worked, but required some divine intervention to keep Cassie here.
Looks at Jillian and touches his throat.
Maybe not mention that part to her parents unless.
I was just about to say, I was just making sure we were all on the same page here.
Yeah.
Was just quietly, just like, yeah, we ain't saying shit on her face. Just, just yeah, we're on the same page.
I should, however, flag up to you that Louis is not one who lets things go without knowing every single detail. So bear in mind that as much as you might not want to mention this to him, weigh up in your minds and hearts whether it would be better to come out with it and explain that at least part of the reason that she's still with us is because, etc., etc., and have him pry it out of you in the worst possible circumstances because he will.
My vote goes to being out with it immediately, right out of the gate, because otherwise the prying is going to lead to a thing that I had a whole conversation with Cassie and Jillian about in the first place, and I'd rather not pile on any more guilt of any sort onto anyone.
Looks at Aloy. Quick glance to Reba. Looks at Jillian. If you need to talk. And
There's been a
he leaves it at that. Is because he
Jones
does
starts
he does understand that if she does need to talk, it's probably gonna want to be, preacher to. It's not quite the sanctity of the confessional, but it's as close as quasi-Protestant's gonna get. So it's just if you need to talk. But
And yeah,
but that devil man is no more.
That's right.
Yep,
The
he's taken care of,
rock-
and
the purification thing did whatever it did to yank all the bits he grafted to himself off of him, and I made sure he stayed down.
And
I made very sure. I don't think anything lives without a head.
And the rock he stole from you.
He had a device that
purified
he was
it.
using
Yeah.
to try and channel it outwards. We kind of channeled, well, those two, and nullified the extra supply he was growing. And right about then, the
I'll
place started
purify
collapsing,
turned to
so
dust.
we had to leave.
Yeah, actually, that's gonna remind Aloy. She had those two bullets.
And, well, I still have, fishing around in the pouch with the different selection sections, these.
And they're purified.
Doing
What the
There's a double take of
shit? Rattle, rattle. Oh, that's interesting. I need to run analyses on these.
and we've lost Aloy.
To be fair, if you're having words with the parents, it's probably just as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not subtle.
Muffin kind of trots up and leans head out to the Reverend, who's pat, pat. Boop, boop. Boop, boop.
It's good to see you.
Likewise, I'm glad you made it out moderately unscathed.
Man's dealt with, and Cassie's all right. That was really my only goals. I call that a win.
Gives Reba a little bit of a look of the shut up. Cuts eyes very briefly to Jillian if that's your only two goals. Shut up is the look.
Jillian's not looking at Reba. It's she's got other thoughts.
But still, it's not very polite.
No, and she's not going to say anything else because she realized she mixed up. So
And yeah, Aloy is still just rattle.
Yeah, look at them, look at them.
Muffin's already opened
figure
up
these
the.
out.
Well, actually, Muffin's opened up her workbench section of.
Aw, Muffin. Thanks. I'm gonna at least put them in here for the analysis later, but probably gonna take care of that later. Some people want to see, pulls out this, pulling up the little light.
Boop boop.
Yeah, I'm gonna fit those into the little lab section, close that compartment, and close the rest of the section.
Revan and Aloy, before you get too involved in that, because I need your feedback for this. How's the rebuilding going?
About as well as you'd expect, I suppose. There's nothing working against it anymore, but there's some tired folk, and
Jillian, how urgent is it that we get a move on?
You would have
Is
to
it-
ask Cassie, most likely, but I think we can manage 2 or 3 days here.
I think
if you don't
between
mind.
yeah, I think between Aloy and myself, I think we could help out and see. We did a fair bit at the house before we left, and we rode out of here so quick we didn't get a chance to do any before we did. So I was kind of hoping we could take some time to do so.
well, you'll have to ask those remaining in town, but I obviously ain't got anything against it, but you understand they're a little wary of strangers. Even if, I mean, they did see you, but things were a little strange.
And they'd probably be wary of anything weird too, and a couple of us are the essence of weird.
All of y'all are the essence of weird to these folk. They're simple folk.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I just I don't know, I just had this gander of
share the weird around.
yeah, that is fair. Now that I actually properly think of the math. Weird because word, weird because crossroads, weird because math.
Jillian, listening to hear any.
Around about the time is that this is. There's French. It sounds angry. In
I
that,
don't know what
in that, if you are seriously telling me that you are going to be leaving home at age 14, that tone.
Meanwhile, Reba probably left a lot sooner than that.
Well, but that's what they're getting from, and there's Prudence going, Louis, what? Because she clearly doesn't speak the French, but she decided to try break it to her dad first. This is clearly not helping.
I'm gonna go derail some stuff before the kids start hearing.
Yeah,
too much
well,
of
the kids actually kind of amble out, going, Papa said we should
Aloy
stay
had
out
something
here.
to show you two.
Oh.
In fact, it might be easier if I demonstrate all of these widgets outside because I've got a lot of them.
And most of them Aloy shouldn't use inside.
Greta looks particularly, but Hank is more. I'm gonna stay with my sister. He's more interested in what's here, kind of thing. But he's supporting Greta, and Greta's just bounce.
Come on, Muffin. Let's set up a display.
Boop, 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 boop. Out.
Reba just starts walking over toward the kitchen, looks
Jillian
back to see.
follows.
All right.
The Reverend is gonna stay by the door. He's not getting involved unless he has to.
Reba will step into the room and then step to the side so Jillian can walk in as well.
Yeah. Could both of you make me an insight check, please? Yeah.
Doing good tonight.
It's a little more obvious to Reba than to Jillian, but they've both had parents. Cassie's presence would be actively harmful at this point. And she's not getting a word in edgewise because there's the whole, parental thing. So, and every time you guys try to make a point, they're just going to look at their 14-year-old daughter, and it's going to be a problem.
Cassie,
Yeah,
Aloy needed you outside.
you get looks from Pet. She'll be there in a minute. We want word with you anyway. Both of you.
Just glances over at Jillian.
And gives the parents a look.
Yeah, what's your two's passive perception?
12.
13.
Yeah, neither of you see it when Cassie uses the distraction and it's out. So it's that you only notice when they look. We're trying to have a word. What have you been filling her head with?
He doesn't. Jillian starts. She doesn't entirely listen, and then she stops herself because that's not helping the argument. She's making her own choices.
She's 14.
I sure as hell did not ask her to follow, but it's out of my hands.
And you're
She's
saying
been
it's in the hands of a 14-year-old girl.
And the Lord.
She's literally been called.
And she chose to accept the calling.
She doesn't know what she's getting into. She's 14.
I'm very aware of that.
But you're letting her do it anyway.
Yes.
I mean, well, we told her some of all to expect if she made the choice, and she, in the middle of it, she started telling us the choices we'd already made because she already knew them. I mean, she saw them, and it's still kind of. Still didn't expect to hear some of that from a 14-year-old, but Jillian's right. There ain't no saying no to when she decides something. It's shocking. So all we could do is just protect her as best we can, which is what we've been doing.
One or both of you is going to have to tell me what happened out there. Like, right now.
Well, Jillian brought her back. Things went that bad. And we brought her back. Well, Jillian brought her back.
We wouldn't have been able to stop him without her.
She quite literally saved the day, and Jillian here saved her. And we will continue to protect her as best we can.
Okay. Imagine you're a parent, yeah. If you were hearing that your child died and got brought back by the power of the Lord as wielded by... And you were getting no other detail. What kind of pictures would be going through your head right now, you?
I'm gonna get into more detail. I just wanted to get that out of the way.
No,
Anyway.
No. I want to hear it from her.
All right. And just...
I understand that, Louis, and you're right. If it was my child, I wouldn't let them go, but it wouldn't be my choice, and with something like this, Cassidy's, she would go with or without us, and the fact is, she has us. She's not going out into the world alone.
But tell him what went down.
I just want to know what happened. That you've got higher powers deciding that you are the one to teach her what the rest of her life is supposed to be.
She was the one who told me that she's here as a guide, and that's what she did. She helped us with so much, and with cleansing Isaac. And then dealing with the preacher. There's just so much we didn't know, and we had no way of finding out. So, that she was able to get close to him too, knowing full well how dangerous that was, and she was still able to, and I pulled a demon's heart from Isaac, and I purified it, and that was the only way we could kill the preacher with how strong he was and how corrupted he was. She was the only one who could get close to him.
I'm guessing that the fact that your husband is standing here with you means that the cleansing was... It didn't... It worked, but it didn't necessarily mean he has to live.
He chose to give his life so that I could get Cassie away from the creatures that were coming.
Reba puts her hand on Jillian's shoulder at that point, just as a bit of support.
Given the look on your face, and you'll clench it up, Prudence, because Prudence is hands over mouth, somewhere between horrified and enraged. Not a word out of you. I know. Looking at your face, I'm not going to insult you by asking any questions about what that means for you and her. I probably could stop her for a while. At least long enough to make sure you get far enough away that she can't follow. But then again, if it is really the we lay him upstairs, then we got a problem. So
He is awfully clever, and then there's what she can see.
So you're telling me that you just came into town to say, look, your daughter's alive and now she's going to ride off into all kinds of danger, and that's it?
We came here so that she could say goodbye to you.
There ain't no circumstance under which I'm gonna like this. Jillian, make me a persuasion check. I am not gonna like this. I am probably not gonna forgive you this.
That's fair.
But I can't rightly stop you. At which point, Prudence. The swearing is so fast and so high pitched, you are not getting exact words.
Mm.
Please get out of here so I can talk to my wife. Because over the cursing, if I'm never gonna forgive you, she's just not gonna. Prudence.
Jillian turns around.
Reba's already out the door. She just went slide. They didn't even mention that that they saved the house. It was like, nope, not gonna mention that. I'll tell the Reverend. He can tell them.
Well, I mean, to be fair, where are you gonna stay in town is the problem, isn't it?
Mm.
And it depends on what the family's gonna want to do. There's still so much shouting, and Louis is trying to shout over her to calm her down. And Cassie did not go outside. Cassie is in one of the first pews and clearly heard some of that, and certainly hearing this, and just sort of.
It's down next to Cassie. They'll understand. It's just one more thing that takes time.
I know, I just don't like making people unhappy.
I know.
And Reba will go and find the Reverend just to let him know
Yeah,
that.
he's out towards the back.
Okay, she'll find him and just be like, so it wasn't the appropriate time, but I did want to make sure that at least somebody knew to tell Louis and Prudence when they can that their house is all right and better than all right. We fixed up what we could and it's safe.
Well, they may have to find that one out themselves. And Louis'd probably be all right if you gave him time, but Prudence ain't gonna give him that. Prudence holds a grudge for just about ever, and if I know anything about her, let's just say that if young Cassie wants to get her hugs in from her sister and brother, she better do it now, because once that yelling stops, Prudence is dragging the whole family out without a word. She'll regret it later, but she got a temper, that one.
Thanks for letting us know. I'll go tell Cassie. And yeah, she'll go do exactly that. Just find Jillian and Cassie. She'll kind of kneel down to Cassie and just, you know, your mom. And the Reverend suggested if you want to see your sister and brother before, you might want to go ahead and do it now, because Prudence is liable to tear out of here. Yeah, you know. Sorry.
You can explain to Miss Jillian. I better. Yeah.
He just turns to Jillian.
She's.
Yeah, as soon as Cassie's well out of earshot, Prudence is going to hold a grudge pretty well this side of forever. And basically, as soon as that yelling calms down for a moment, they're probably going to tear out of here, and without a word. And yeah, she'll probably feel bad about it later. At some point, well down the line, we might be able to swing back, at least close enough so Cassie can see him again then, but it's going to be a long time.
I hoped they'd have more time while we are here, but if it's the only way, we're going to be on the trail for a long time.
I do still think, provided the townspeople are okay with it, we stick around and do what little we can.
A few days will be good for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Aloy only notices that she's been showing off her bits and pieces when Cassie not even Aloy's passive perception is bad enough to not notice that Cassie is crying a little bit.
Be right back.
Yeah, and it's just sort of without a word, just sort of gathers up the twins, and they're just like, "Phoop." Okay, Cassie, it's can't be sorry, sorry. You heard what I said to Mom and Dad. I'm gonna be riding with these guys now, and Mom doesn't really like it. But, and you know, Mom. But just give me a hug. This is what Aloy's watching, so just. Come on, you know that you guys are basically the only thing in the world that can make Mom stop yelling, and when she stops yelling, she's just gonna want to just go. So maybe you could stall Mom just long enough for Dad to write a note if he wants to. I miss you guys. And ushers them back to, looks up at Aloy as the twins sort of wave as they potter up the church steps.
Before the twins go, I'm going to do I have any spare notebooks?
Hand of fate. Yes.
I'm going to pull one, pop it open, hand Cassie my a pen, and just write something for them.
I've said just about everything I need to say to them. It's okay.
Then just sign it.
Signs it.
And I'm going to doodle in, I guess, Chibi Skillet Man. And pull, I guess, were there any specific schematics from when I was showing them that they seemed interested, that the particularly techie twin seemed interested in?
Greta is she's like 4 or 5. She's interested in everything.
Okay.
You do have your mini muffin prototype though. A little
Yeah, and
clockwork,
that's-
your original.
Yep, I'm going to pull, I'm going to find the schematics for that. Make sure there isn't anything on the other side of that page that might be vital for other things. Remove that page. Fit that in with the book. Get the mini muffin. And
You just get.
produce the flashlight. And both on the book to Greta.
Greta takes them and then gives the light to Hank so he can read under the covers. And so he's not missing out on anything. Thank you, Miss Aloy.
You kids, do what you do best.
Holds up the miniature muffin and just its tiny head swivel. Boop boop.
And you do everything you can to help them. You got me?
Boop boop. Probably Mini Muffin is largely body of pencil sharpener.
Yep, it's pretty much it's just a pencil sharpener with like all kinds of little mini clockwork bits just bolted on.
And, the head and the little legs. And, Cassie's just gone. And as you guys are sitting there contemplating, the twins come thundering down. And you've got Hank clutching the Aloy's miniature flashlight and the notebook, and Greta holding a miniature muffin. They wave. Barge into the kitchen. Yelling abruptly ceases. And then Prudence stomps out, one hand holding each of the twins. Gives you guys, if looks could kill, you guys would be well past Revivify by now.
Jillian looks back.
Reba is not. She's just like, as soon as she cuts them, she's just.
And Louis follows with it's not a dirty look. It's I can't be happy with you. I can't forgive you, but I get it. And I don't want this. But and then just tips his hat a little and walks out. For Aloy, Prudence out. Twins, holding hands with the twins, doesn't even look at Cassie, who kind of hides a bit behind Muffin when she realizes she's not getting looked at, and heads towards what she remembers as their whole their setup. Louis comes out a moment later, does stop, looks in your direction, and Cassie from behind Muffin just gives a little tip of his hat. And then they mount up and ride off. Of course, Aloy doesn't know any of the back history. She just knows family shit went horrifically wrong.
Oh, boy.
If anybody wants to know where I am, I'm gonna be over by the horses. I'd like to have a bit of a cry by myself. Thank you. Pat, pat,
All
pat,
right.
pat, 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 pat. Boop.
She needs some time to herself, Muffin.
Boop.
I know.
Looking towards the church doors in a sort of, I don't know what's going on. Do they know what's going on? Boop.
I have a few guesses. I'm gonna wait for them to tell me. Muffin, oh boy,
And Muffin kind of nudges Aloy onto across his back and trumps her into the church because clearly Muffin is
Muffin,
impatient.
no. Go be a hug unit for laugh.
And yeah, Muffin dumps Aloy next to the pew where Reba and Jillian are sitting, and then goes to follow instructions.
And I'm just an absolute heap.
Boop, boop.
Glasses askew and everything.
Okay. Let me guess, Muffin knew better.
We both knew better, just Muffin got real impatient. More than me. Help!
Get up here.
There's a lot of untangling to do.
But untangling happens, so yeah.
Glasses on.
Yeah, no, you never do that. You smudge them. It's always finger to the bridge.
Yeah, because once I do that, I immediately look and go, and out comes something to clean them off with.
Yeah. And the Reverend passes by. I'm just going to put some food together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Reverend.
Well, as you can probably guess, Prudence is the type to hold a grudge for the, as I put it, this side of forever. And she's probably going to regret running out of here like she did, but it's going to be quite a long time before that happens.
So there was the emotional equivalent of a BFB.
Big fucking boom.
Exactly.
Laura, ancestors alive, I've been hanging out with you too long.
You're learning. That's a good thing.
She just looks at, gives him this look like, don't make me smack you.
I'm serious. About 10,000 people each day learn something new. Being part of Lucky 10,000.
Just reaches over.
Don't lose my glasses.
No,
It was just a quick tap. It's not a.
Yeah, that's kind of. I'm like, now I've lost these enough.
And to be fair, she's at least partially doing it for comedy effect because it's Aloy. You're muted.
Well, anyway, that's why she tore out of here like she did. So we're gonna ask around town of the townsfolk if they don't mind us chipping in or pitching in and helping where we can to push the fixing up along. We got a few days we can do that. I figure between you fixing what you can and me growing what I can, we might at least help them along a little bit before the weather turns. So, but that's assuming they let us, because if they don't, we ain't pressing the issue.
And I'm assuming because Reba is so wise, the main reason she hasn't mentioned Jillian is because she's well aware that Jillian wants to, or needs to, start training with Cassie a bit.
Yep.
So, we're on logistics. Okay. I mean, I have ideas, but most of those ideas are complicated. And honestly, I don't think that we have the time or resources to build anything akin to build a town-wide iteration of the fog field. And so instead,
I was just thinking,
just normal helping. I'm just pointing out that
just normal helping.
Yeah, just keep it simple, girl. Just men's stuff.
Let me work through it. Let me get it through words. I'm just. Anyway, yeah. So, I have ideas. Most of them are too complicated. Therefore, I'm trying to figure out if I ask or you do. Because if I ask, I'm liable to start waving. I pull out the screwdriver, just turn it on. I need new bits for this anyway. There's parts I gotta finish fitting.
And from the kitchen, number 1, please do not turn that thing on in here. Number 2, third option, because one of y'all is unfortunately from a race of people who are often prejudiced against, and the other one's kind of crazy. Why don't y'all let me come with you and let me ask?
That would be amazing. Double thank you. Turning off the widget.
Beat me to it.
I wouldn't have done that, but she turned on the widget.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. Sorry about that. Anyway, out of character, my brain piped up with logistics make Aloy go brrr.
Oh, it's actually Aloy more going, let's just, widget go burn!
How well? He said something about was it food he said he was making or
Yeah,
actual dinner?
food.
I can't remember if he did say food.
He said
So
food
right on?
because, well, you guys said good morning, so I'm assuming lunchtime.
Right. Okay. Okay. So we'll have some food and then see about asking folk and go from there with us. Jillian, I don't know. Cassie, well, you saw Cassie when she left.
I'll see how Cassie's feeling in a few hours.
Well, no, I'm talking to
She
Aloy.
needed some time alone.
Oh.
Muffin will be being as much of a comfort as Muffin does, which is a lot. And hopefully will be your first notification that she's back. Because there is nothing quite like boop, 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 boop.
Well, since we are at approximately that time, we will wrap up with a little bit of a last minute thing and then take a couple of minutes to decide what we're going to do next. Summary. With the help of the Reverend, Aloy and Reba were given more or less free rein to help with external property damage and crops and garden stuff. Nobody was letting that grin inside their homes.
Reba probably just at that just kind of nodded and went like, "Yeah, I don't blame you."
You guys,
Someone might wind up with an extensively upgraded gutter system on the outside of their house.
No.
I'm going to say Reba
Just
can...
more than usual.
Yeah, Reba's probably not going to let that happen, and it's not like they've got that much in the way of spare bits.
Oh yeah, I probably get partway through that and just get told to take that and put it on someone else's building.
Something like that. Meantime, while they're doing that, Jillian spends the next few days helping Cassie at the very least get her shooting a little bit more up to snuff, and you know, she's not a bad writer, but she's nowhere in Jillian's league simply because she was not raised by ranchers. It's only a few days, but it's enough to get some basics in hand. She's obviously still more than a little bit glum about how things went down with particularly her mother. And now you know exactly what she meant when she said that her mother was going to be unthrilled.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, even if she did see that coming, she could always hope that it was just her anxieties talking. That's going to stay with her for a little while. But after the 2 or 3 days that you guys were agreeing to stay, things are about as settled as they're going to get in the time you have. The grateful remains of the townsfolk, frankly, largely in a Reba-ish direction. It's not that they're not grateful for what Aloy's done, but the little extra bit of gratitude to Reba is for what she didn't let Aloy do.
Yeah.
They do help them stock up and resupply as best they can. In and amongst the training, there was also probably conversations with the Reverend about what the what that area is looking like at the moment. Between that township and their township. And the Reverend does say, I know that Cassie's home is probably not going to be the most comfortable place for a while. If y'all happen to be passing by this way again, I can, if you stop by here, I can let you know if things have warmed up some or cooled down some, or both at the same time, I reckon. And if not, I can at least tell you how they're all faring.
We'd very, very much appreciate that.
Either way, we're happy to have you by. You've been a great help. All the usual words of blessing, or they either go without saying, or they might not 100% be appreciated. So I'll stick with I wish you all the best. And I hope to see you again. And then turns around to Cassie. You take care of these folk, yeah? They don't always have the sense God gave a goat. You know that. Well, I'm still really new at this, so I can guide and help the ones of them that actually know what they're doing in any circumstance be heard in the circumstance where they know things. See, that's more sense than any of them have showed the entire time I've known them.
Reba's not debating that point. She's just sort of, well, we do our best, but, you know.
And while the Reverend's not saying it, because, he doesn't want to embarrass the teenager, he does give a certain look as he says that, which is, you all best be taking care of her. And with that, with your supplies well stocked and largely stuffed in muffin, and things as settled as they're going to get on this side, the Weird Sisters head south to Arizona, whatever cities they find in between, and whatever awaits them either in the city or in Arizona itself, depending on how weird and wild the West has become.
Mm-hmm.
That's the end of that particular chapter. So, we have two choices. As y'all may be aware, because I have mentioned this a couple of times, I have been looking at some tweaks and setting ideas for a Horizon Zero Dawn thing. Or we could pick up Dishonored. These are our options. Both are feasible to be picking up next week because Noms has finished the game and come up with a character. I'm nearly there. I was in the All Mother when game time started, so I'm gonna go back to it after this is done.
Part of the Nora.
Yeah. So
I'm all for HZD myself. That's my
sorry,
vote.
I can't hear Z anymore. Z. For me,
Oh,
it's
my
Z.
You're right.
Well, no, for you.
Well, no, actually, I prefer that, and I've been trying to switch, but I forget sometimes. So thank you.
So it's okay. So it's okay if I flinch at it.
It's contextual for me. Z works in certain places, but H, Z, D, the D's cross over for me, and that drives me crazy.
Or we could just say Zero Dawn because it's still short.
Better.
It's still short. It's not trying to be an acronym, and yeah. So we have
Zero Dawn for me.
We have one vote for Zero Dawn. Noms.
Make your vote.
It's a tough choice.
It is. I know.
Okay, I'm gonna say Dishonored, but it's close.
God, I'm almost in the same boat as Noms. It's like really difficult to make the choice. I kind of want to go down the path of the unfathomably creepy little rat queen shitlord that I have there. But at the same time, the awesome idea that Thess has pitched me is just like punching every "I must science this" button at once.
So I'll tell you what, because I'm pretty much the deciding here. With everything that's going on at the moment, I need something that's not London run by corrupt assholes with a plague happening in it.
Yeah, that's fair.
I much prefer way post-apocalyptic. So I'm gonna throw you guys together your character sheets with the character concept that I have and the two that I am making up because we have our Karja Hunter. We have our Osram. Just take me to places where I can science.
Osram Delver.
Yes. And our Banuk. Basically, my people are really into getting closer to the blue light. How much closer can you get than having it stare you down while you fill it full of arrows? So, yeah, they have two very different types of hunter, and the person who gets to pick everything apart afterwards, because if nothing else, they need someone who can actually take apart their kills properly, because we know that unless you're a shaman, Banuk can't. So, yes, I will put everything together in my now copious free time, and we'll get started on that at least for session 0 next week. Meantime, remember that we're starting D&D an hour earlier tomorrow. We may run late, but I don't know that we will. It's a little bit complicated by the fact that Brian is being held up by Mother's Day plans, which he feels really bad about and tried but can't get out of. So we'll see you all tomorrow when I throw a blue dragon at your heads.
Oh boy. And then next week, post-apocalyptic Rocky Mountains, go!